Figured I'd do another live one. Something I've been noticing lately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to put words on it, but let's see. Where people are coming from, I suspect there are many people that have never once really stepped out of mind. And one of the symptoms of being in mind is equating the world that you see with the real. And so you see things that don't feel good, and you know you want changes. And so you naturally start, putting the acne cream on the mirror. And so I want to invite everyone to pause. You have an inner pause button that you can press. I find it works best when I just kind of put my focus somewhere in the center of my chest. It's not a 3D thing, so that's just an approximation. I don't know much, but I don't want to share with you beyond my own experience. So there will be glaring holes, especially if you're looking at it from a mind perspective. So step out of there. Step into heart. We tend as humans to go through our day from thing to thing to thing, whatever grabs our attention. There's not very much pausing in between. There's not very much centering that goes on. And there it is, the end of the day, and you're sitting there and maybe having a bedtime snack or something and looking at your day and realizing that you were just kind of like dragged around like a dog on a leash. By what? I don't know. By mind, maybe. I mean, that's just a perspective on it. But the fact is, we can push pause. We can recollect. We can collect ourselves so that we've got the very best intention, the one that feels the best for whatever it is we're heading into, instead of just heading into it. I guess head there is the operative word. One of the things that's helped me make a pretty big shift out of that mode of operation is the whole divine identity thing. At a certain point, I found that no matter what I looked at, it didn't matter. What mattered was who was the I doing the looking. And that sounds too pat, like, I don't know. Let me say it another way. Just who did I take myself to be? In what aspect of self was I centered? Where was I operating from? And I was shown how I could get half a dozen different answers and different perspectives for the same exact activity. It just depended on where I was coming from. Well, that really makes you pause and sit back when you realize, oh my God, is my reality really that flexible? Uh-huh. And each one of those perspectives like things tend to do in 3D, would set up a chain of events, would bring to me certain manifestations. And so it's not until we push that pause button that we can begin to choose for ourselves, to take our power back. That other way of living is too helter-skelter, just will-I-nil-I. The phone rings, or you get the mail and you respond to that, or the email and you respond to that, or you get a toothache and you respond to that. But it's not the response that holds any meaning. It's more where we're coming from. How deeply are we centered in our being? Or are we just riding on the surface of it? And of course, I think that when we're like that, we're riding on the surface. And it's not the fullness of who we are, and it's not going to bring about the kind of manifestations that we would prefer. I mean, let's face it, the mind has certain preferences. The body has preferences. The soul has preferences. So, who's running this thing? Who's driving? Who's at the wheel? And for most of us, it's mostly the mind and the body. Okay. That's what was, or maybe that's what is. But it can stop in a heartbeat. It can shift. It can change. And it's totally helpful to push pause. We need some distance, some breathing space. And even 60 quiet seconds can deliver that. If we can really just be still. We are the divine already. It's not something we're setting out to achieve, to learn, to master, to become. It's an is. You are the divine. And the way you can prove it to yourself is to center down into it and experience it directly. Mind will have all kinds of crazy, whacked out ideas about that. Just ignore them. We've got to learn to ignore thoughts at certain times, such as when we're wanting to focus or to meditate. I don't tend to go for an active meditation on this or that unless it's like a candle flame, just a point of focus, just to kind of keep the mind occupied. Or your breath. Something like that's fine, but not any kind of a doing. I like to come to a certain stillness because when we can do this, the divine automatically floods in. One of the things that has me enjoying the words of Abraham Hicks so much is the simplicity of it. There are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of clips of them on the internet. I mean, you can buy their whole seminars and things, but you don't need to. And they mostly say the same thing over and over, taking different perspectives on it, the perspective of the person in the hot seat. But they're saying the same thing. And again, here, I think it helps to push pause on ourselves. And when you're listening to a video, whether it's Abraham or anything, when you're listening to a video and something really hits you, why not push pause? Why not give whatever that is a moment to be acknowledged and just to settle down a little bit more deeply into your consciousness instead of racing on ahead. Mind's tendency is always, it's outer focused. It's the next thing, it's the next moment, it's the next word, it's the next whatever. And heart's focus is spherical. It's not like that. It's everything is now. It's all your lifetimes are happening now. It's not understandable by mind, but that's okay. We have a mind. It's not who we are. It's a type of perspective we can take. So, what am I saying here? I don't know. Maybe it's saying me. When we pause, and maybe just remember, our job is to feel good. And so, however we're feeling, we can feel better. And Abraham offers the techniques and the teachings and the methods and the tools and all of that. They're fun to work with. I don't do too much of that. But, you know, I think it's wonderful. And I think everyone, as they listen, their heart will be sufficient guide for how they want to implement whatever it is. But if you can just get it that the greatest thing you can do for yourself and all life, not just the world, but all life in cosmos, is just to be in joy. Follow your bliss, as Joseph Campbell said it. But you can catch up to your bliss, so it's not like you have to follow it. You can be it. And as if that wasn't wonderful enough, I mean, ponder the wonder of that for a moment. If that's really and truly your purpose, your goal, your chore, whatever you want to call it, is to be happy. Let the feeling good of that sink in. Warm up to it, you know? Do what you can to accept it as a belief. Now, as if that's not yummy enough, and it's totally awesome, the other side of this coin is that the universe will do the rest. By getting into your best feeling state, you're lining up your vibration with the best of you, with Source, with higher self, with whatever, you know, with God. And there are infinite joys and gifts and treasures awaiting our moment of non-resistance. I think one of the most amazing things about the awakening process is recognizing all the resistance we've been displaying. We're literally driving down the road with one foot on the gas and the other one on the brake, and if we had a third one, it might be hovering over the clutch, you know? I mean, it's nuts how we resist what is. We don't give things the right to just be what they are, to exist in close proximity to us. We don't want to allow our bad feelings, you know, our hurts. It's endless the way we resist things until it ends, until we choose to take our power back and to take the reins back and to put heart or soul or spirit, whatever you want to call it, our higher being in charge. The more we recognize and identify with that, the more that can work through us. If you think you're just this puny human, then you're in resistance to the fullness of the divine one that you are. You can't let that flow through, because that couldn't flow through because you're just a human and that's too much and blah blah blah. You know, I'm sure you've had the hamster-wheeling going on in the mind. So I think maybe I'll call this one just push pause. Because that divine being is there already. If and as that's your true identity, then pushing pause is going to give that a chance to engage. As long as we're hamster wheeling around, we've shut the door on that, at least partially. It's always there, and it's always available, but not until we engage, and nobody told us how to engage, you know, growing up. These concepts are totally foreign to what we were taught. And then along comes Abraham. And it just resonates so beautifully for me. It's so simple that every hope, wish, and dream, every beautiful thought you've ever had, everything that you've desired for your own good or the good of the world or whatever, God's answer to that was yes. But then we neglected to harmonize our vibration, our energy, so that we could be receptive to it, so that it could flow. But it's there, ready and waiting to flow, and no doing is required. It's totally effortless. The only effort is in maintaining a good emotional state to the best of our ability. It'll go up and down. Come on. You know, this is 3D. Change being the constant here. But it's pretty easy. Just hover close to the pause button. We all have times when you're in an elevator, you're walking down a hallway, you're in a car, and you know, you're maybe not in downtown traffic, especially when you're on the freeway. I mean, I bliss out. I just get high when I'm doing interstate driving. I just immediately go into that and get a dialogue going or a meditation going. It's so ever present and available. You can't get away from it. It's who you are. And it's already perfect. The mind doesn't have the right angle of view on things to evaluate any of this. The mind can't get up there in the higher dimensions and have a look at you and see who and what you are and how things go together and what's really going on. But the heart can. The heart can take you there. See, you're already there. There's nowhere you can go where you're not already there. You're going to meet yourself there. It's the whole these eyes God thing. And maybe for those who haven't heard it, it's a Sufi saying, these eyes through which I hoped to see God are the eyes through which God sees me. Very Rumi-esque, although, you know, I don't know. I've just found it written as a Sufi saying. But I believe he was one of those. Ultimately, everything gets down to just being the self. But there are very few of us that just step right into that wholeness. And so the pause button is helpful. Now, do I have anything else to offer? Maybe not. It's just that your whole attitude toward life can change pretty much in an instant. And maybe you'll realize, oh my God, maybe that was the mind's attitude toward that, and not really the deeper me. Maybe the deeper me doesn't see it that way at all. And when you look at people making their videos and writing their comments down and so on, you can see the different perspectives they're coming from. And sometimes two people will really agree more than they realize, and they're talking at cross purposes and not seeing that they are saying the same thing. They're just coming at it from a different perspective. So nice to see the unity consciousness coming in. Even just in recognizing the fractal nature of everything. The fractal is one. It moves as a whole, it shifts, it transitions as a whole, even though it's infinite. As above, so below. Also, though, as below, so above. It's all one. And it's far more wonderful than we were previously taught to believe. Namaste.